Thank you very much indeed, Luska here. Look, Minister Brown, you're a decent and hard-working minister, and it is my regret that you're here this morning. Nothing personal. I hope you'll accept what I say today as a professional observation. We have a full Minister for Defence and we have a junior Minister for Defence. I fully accept the fact that the full Minister for Defence is out of the country. It is outrageous that the junior Minister for Defence is not available. I understand that the junior Minister for Defence has been told she has defence in her portfolio only in name and that she should not engage in any direct work in the area of defence. And as far as I recall, that's straight from the Taoiseach himself on the floor of the Dáil. Minister, it is deeply, deeply concerning for me that we have members of the Department of Defence signing memorandums of understanding and no uniformed military personnel there when the MOU has been signed. The Romanian side had uniformed personnel there. This cuts to the heart of the relationship that exists between the military and the Department of Defence. The Department of Defence is responsible for advising the Minister on policy matters. However, there is no statutory obligation on the Department to have any input from the Defence Forces themselves when it comes to policy matters. It's more a grace and favour sort of relationship. Come along if we invite you, otherwise mind your own business and stay out of it type of thing. It is outrageous that we, members of the Oireachtas, learnt of this memorandum of understanding on Twitter. And we're not advised in advance. Now, things have moved on since I put in both an FOI and this commencement matter. Yesterday, the Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee considered this matter and have contacted the Department and asked for the Department to provide a copy of the MOU to the Defence Committee. There's a serious problem, Minister, and I really am sorry because this is not your area of responsibility and you have enough on your plate besides coming up here listening to me. But there is a serious issue of oversight of what goes on in this country at departmental level. It is outrageous to think that the Department of Defence would be signing a memorandum of understanding on what we're told are defence matters without members of the Defence Forces being present. We're unsure as to what the MOU was. It never came before the Joint Oireachtas Committee for scrutiny before it was signed. We have no idea what's involved in it. And I think, Minister, you'll agree with me that you would want to see that the Joint Oireachtas Committee had oversight of anything that was going on in the defence or foreign affairs area. So from that point of view, I'm sorry that you're in the chair today. I'm sorry that events moved on yesterday beyond this question now, and that the Defence Committee has itself expressed its concern and now wants to see the Memorandum of Understanding. So I trust that you'll accept. I did not want to waste your time this morning by addressing this issue after the decision that was made yesterday. But I do think we have to put on the record of this House our displeasure at the fact that policy is being developed by people who are not military, who have no defence background whatsoever. With all due respects to the General Secretary of the Department, I'm sure she's an extremely able person, but she does not have defence in her background. She is a banker by profession. And who should be providing defence policy other than people in defence? We've got to look at statutory obligation to have defence forces involved in policy. I'll leave it at that, Minister, and thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Minister Brown.
Thank you, Gerard, and I thank the Senator for raising this important matter around the issues of protocols, terms and conditions of a Memorandum of Understanding signed between Ireland and Romania. And I welcome the opportunity to speak on this channel on behalf of the Taoiseach and Minister for Defence. The Memorandum of Understanding between Ireland and Romania, which was signed in Bucharest 2 weeks ago on the 8th of April, is policy focused and relates to bilateral defence cooperation between both defence ministers. The Memorandum of Understanding demonstrates that both countries have an agreed framework of defence engagement for the future, which we can build upon, and while agreeing to fully recognise and respect our country's individual defence arrangements. As the Senator is aware, the war in Ukraine has dramatically changed the security dynamic in Europe, with the last 2 years being very significant, both internationally and domestically. At home too, such developments nationally and internationally have provoked something of a debate on Ireland's role in international security and defence. Security and defence issues are increasing at the very top of the EU's political agenda. For these reasons, there is undoubtedly a very strong focus on the defence challenges facing Europe and the steps required to address these. While defence remains a national competence of our policy of military neutrality does not remove us from the global security environment or mean that we should not work closely with our fellow EU member states to address these challenges. It is necessary that Ireland take steps towards enhancing our defence engagement with our EU member states colleagues where appropriate, and we should be willing to identify the potential benefits to Ireland of such bilateral engagement, particularly in terms of identifying opportunities for our defence forces. Our willingness to engage in such bilateral strategic discussions led to the development of the Memorandum of Understanding with our Romanian colleagues by the Department of Defence in conjunction with the Defence Forces. Our agreement is an example of our shared commitment as European Union member states to developing a positive relationship long into the future, while fully recognising the different national characteristics of both in terms of national defence policy and caveated accordingly. This MOU is focused on bilateral defence cooperation where feasible and is aimed at building linkages in terms of sharing best practice, including in terms of peacekeeping deployments. The signing of the Memorandum of Understanding was an opportunity to reaffirm our broad bilateral relationship, our common security challenges and experience working alongside each other, including our personal participation in European Union, NATO and UN-mandated peacekeeping operations and other multinational formations. With this framework in place, our future bilateral engagement with Romania will be through strategic dialogue discussions and through military staff talks, which will allow for the sharing of best practice. There are numerous areas of engagement where we could potentially cover, and the Memorandum of Understanding includes broad language around cooperation on any number of themes, including pre-deployment, training for the UN-mandated international peacekeeping operations, communications and information systems, and procurement, among other topics. But I certainly hear the Senator in relation to the lack of a presence of a uniformed military at the signing, and also in terms of engagement with the Houses, and I'll certainly bring that concerns to the attention of the Taoiseach.
Thanks very much indeed, Senator Craughwell.
Minister, I thank you for coming here this morning. It's not easy to come in and face somebody on questions in an area that you have not designated within, that's not designated within your area of responsibility. The concerns I have are not in any way alleviated by the document that was provided for you by the Department. It is a matter that the Defence Committee will take up in the coming weeks, and hopefully we'll get to where we should be. I think you'd agree, Minister, that there should be somebody, I mean, the response from the Department clearly states it's in conjunction with the Defence Forces. The only member of the Defence Forces that was at the signing of that MOU was, I understand, a captain, and that he was in civilian clothing, which does not give me great confidence. It's something we've got to look at, the statutory inclusion of the Defence Forces in all matters as we go forward. And look, once again, Minister, I really thank you for taking the time to come here today. It was important that somebody was here to answer the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Minister Brown.
Thank you, Gerard, and again, thanks Senator Craughwell for this very important issue, and I'll certainly bring his concerns to the attention of the Taoiseach. Thank you.